In 2004, the oldest living resident of Great Britain passed away. Despite a life that touched 3 separate centuries, the news barely registered on the global stage, appearing as little more than a footnote in local papers. The mid-1800s typically exists in our collective memory as a static world of ghosts, a collection of grainy daguerreotypes and distant textbook chapters. But a veteran of that era survived into the internet age. Timothy, a Mediterranean spur-thighed tortoise, was the final living witness to the Crimean War. She lived through the age of sail, the Industrial Revolution, and the Information Age, a single biological thread connecting wooden ships to the digital world. By using Timothy's slow, constant lifespan as a fixed measuring stick, we can visualize the hyper-accelerated, often chaotic evolution of modern human civilization. Timothy's story begins in 1844 Turkey, where she was allegedly captured by a Portuguese privateer. She was born into the final days of state-sponsored piracy, just before the world's major powers moved to abolish the practice. In 1854, Royal Navy officer John Courtney Everard acquired the tortoise, assuming she was male. He named her Timothy and brought her aboard the HMS Queen as a naval mascot. That same year, Timothy was deployed to the Crimean War. This was a massive collision between the Russian Empire and an alliance of global powers that reshaped the map of Europe at the cost of nearly 1 million lives. From the deck of the HMS Queen, Timothy survived the bombardment of the Sevastopol fortress, a conflict where the Allied fleet took heavy damage from Russian shore batteries. The HMS Queen was set on fire 3 times during the battle. Amidst the explosions and the burning timber, Timothy simply retreated into her protective shell and waited for the fire to stop. In that same war zone, Florence Nightingale was busy establishing the foundations of modern nursing. Curiously, Nightingale also kept a pet tortoise named Jimmy during her time in the Crimea. While humanity rapidly developed new warfare and triage medicine, Timothy's only focus was biological survival. Timothy continued her service aboard the HMS Princess Charlotte, a 104-gun ship of the line, as the Royal Navy headed toward the Second Opium War. This campaign, aimed at forcing trade concessions from the Chinese Qing dynasty, involved high-stakes river assaults on the Taku forts. After a 38-year career in the Royal Navy, Timothy finally retired from active service in 1892, having witnessed 2 of the most significant conflicts of the 19th century. She spent her remaining years at the Powderham estate, the home of the Earls of Devon, transitioning from the deck of a warship to the quiet of an English garden. She had lived through the peak of imperial violence and would spend her 2nd century as a symbol of domestic stability. In 1926, the 14th Earl of Devon took Timothy to the London Zoo in an attempt to find a mate. It was there, after 80 years of service, that humanity finally discovered Timothy was actually female. This realization placed her in the company of the many women throughout history who masqueraded as men in order to serve in their nation's wars. While Timothy hibernated each year under a wisteria tree, the world outside descended into the Blitz, which decimated nearby Exeter and destroyed the homes surrounding her garden walls. By the 1990s, Timothy had become a celebrity in her own right, meeting Hollywood figures like Christopher Reeve when Powderham was a film set. She even shared the estate with rock legends like Roger Daltrey as the grounds transitioned into a venue for modern music festivals. Wearing a tag asking visitors not to pick her up, she continued her routine eating strawberries, largely indifferent to the frantic cultural shifts occurring around her. When Timothy was born, Queen Victoria sat on the throne of England, and John Tyler was the President of the United States. During her single lifespan, 34 American presidents and 6 British monarchs took power, governed, and passed into history. Her timeline bridges the gap between wooden ships firing muskets and humanity launching satellites into orbit. This longevity inspired the proposed word Timothetius, referring to the specific wisdom and perspective that can only be gained through such extreme age. Timothy's life serves as a reminder of how quickly human history moves. While empires were dismantled and ideologies were rewritten, her life remained a constant. After 160 years and 34 presidencies, Timothy reached the end of her story in 2004. She left behind a legacy that suggests history isn't just something found in books, but something that was once simply a quiet afternoon with a bowl of strawberries.